Today I want to focus on a name that almost never appears in organ concert programs. Yet, without him, the French Romantic organ tradition would look very different. François Benoist. In 1819, he became the first official professor of organ at the Paris Conservatory. That appointment marks a very important turning point. For the first time, organ playing in France entered a structured academic framework at the national level. Before that, organists were primarily formed through apprenticeship and liturgical practice. With Benoist, the organ became an institutional discipline. Benoist belongs to a transitional generation. His formation was rooted in the post-classical French tradition, still connected to 18th century clarity and liturgical function. At the same time, he lived in a century that was gradually moving toward romantic expression. His music reflects that position between worlds. You hear formal balance and structural clarity combined with a harmonic language that begins to expand beyond strict classical restraint. He does not yet write in the large symphonic style later associated with cavaillal organs, but he moved beyond the older liturgical idiom. His aesthetic is measured, refined, and structurally clear. Benoist's historical importance becomes even clearer when we look at his students. Among them were César Franck, Camille Saint-Saëns, and Lefébure-Wély. Through them, the French symphonic organ tradition flourished. The monumental organ symphonies, the expanded harmonic palette, and the virtuosic idiom of the late 19th century emerged from a pedagogical system that Benoist helped establish. He did not revolutionize the organ through spectacle. He gave it institutional continuity. That is a quieter form of influence, but not less decisive. He composed primarily for liturgical use, offertories, elevations, and verses, along with collections intended for practical church service. These works are moderate in scale and carefully proportionate. They are designed to serve the liturgy with clarity and balance, rather than to dominate the space with symphonic weight. For modern concert audiences, this can make them seem understated. In a culture that often favors dramatic contrast and large gestures, his music may appear restrained. Yet restraint is not a weakness. It reflects control, proportion, and a refined sense of function. Music history tends to celebrate figures who reshape sound in a dramatic way. Teachers and system builders are remembered less often. Benoist occupies a space between eras, which makes him difficult to categorize. He stands between classical clarity and the later Romantic symphonic expansion. As a result, his music does not fit easily into the narratives that dominate today's organ repertoire. In conclusion, François Benoist reminds us that great traditions are not built only by visionary composers who dominate the stage. They are also shaped by teachers who create frameworks, define standards, and transmit knowledge across generations. Without Benoist, the organ class at the Paris Conservatory would have not taken the form it did. Without that structure, the later flourishing of the French Romantic organ tradition would have unfolded very differently. If you are interested in this transitional period of the 19th century French organ music, I have also published a video on Lefébure-Wély, another central but controversial figure of the same generation. Together, they show two very different directions the organ was taking at that time. You can find that video on my YouTube channel. And if you appreciate this kind of historical and critical exploration of the organ repertoire, consider subscribing. On this channel I explore performance, education, and the evolution of the organ tradition from its roots to its modern transformations. And I will be curious to know your perspective. Have you ever played or heard music by Benoist? Let me know in the comments and see you in the next video.